Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning. Kuntres Heichaltzu, 15 minutes. Okay, today we start the second, or the other half, so to speak, of Heichaltzu. Yeah, and essentially that's the story. What we talked about yesterday, and we answered our questions. That is, why was Dafka that Moshe had to do this war with Midian? And we explained how Midian, and we've seen how Midian is in contrast to Shem Havayeh, and that's why it was Nekamas Havayeh. It was the retribution of the level of Havayeh, of the name of God, because we see Havayeh is all about unity, and that's what we're going to be discussing, whereas Klippa Midian is all about the separation. We also explained that's also why the first base of Mikdash, and that's also why Klippa Midian is so bad, because the first base of Mikdash was destroyed, but it was only for 70 years, and the second base of Mikdash was built. Why? Because even though the Averis were very chamer, very serious, very severe, it was Shuchas Damim, Gilaroyes, Avodah Zarah, but even though it was severe, but it was a specific issue, so we could fix it. Whereas Klippa Midian, which is like sort of the totality of an issue, it encompasses everything. It's not a specific issue. It's sinas chinam. It just gets everywhere, and that's why the second base of Mikdash was destroyed, because of sinas chinam, and we're 1800 plus years since then, and we're still stuck in Galus, unfortunately. Yeah, and that's also why it says Heichaltzu, which means you should all arm yourselves. But there was only 12,000 people going to the war, so why is everyone arming themselves? Because this is spiritually, it's all of us are in this war, in this battle. Yeah, exactly. And specifically Moshe, because Moshe is the epitome of Bittul, which is in contrast to Klippa Midian. Okay, and so now that we've understood, basically, yeah, you'll explain it very clearly. Page 135 at the top, Perek Yud Ches. This chapter begins the second portion of Kuntres Heichaltzu. The first portion, the Rebbe Rashab focused primarily on the negative qualities associated with Yeshus that lead to baseless hatred. In this portion, the Rebbe focuses on God's oneness. He begins the discussion of this subject by explaining the contrast between God's name Havayeh and Elikim. So now we're going to start to talk about different levels of godliness to understand what does it mean true unity, what does it mean unity amongst God, within God, and also understanding this is a very key to understanding godliness and to really appreciating what does it mean when you say the word God or godliness. What do you mean by that? And this is what we're talking about. This is very similar to what it says in discussion in Shar Yichud Ve'emunah in Tanya. It's a similar discussions, and if you pay attention, you really get it. It'll give you a deeper understanding of godliness. And when we talk about God and different levels of God, and when you think and you want to meditate in davening, let's say, on God, this will give you the asius, the letters, the words to use. Let's go. And he's comes out to explain the ideas we talked about before. Klippa Midian is the opposite, and it goes against Shem Havayeh. So we understand what Klippa Midian is, but we need to understand Shem Havayeh. To truly understand this, we have to understand what does it mean Shem Havayeh. What is this unity of Shem Havayeh? And this is what we're going to discuss. So now we're going to discuss Shem Elikim. Elikim, and simply, it comes from the Gematria Teva, same numerical value as nature. So it's really how God is manifest in the world and gives life to everything. Yeah, and in general, God has different names. Those names are what characterizes what He's doing. So Shem Elikim is characterized as God within nature and how He sustains nature and makes nature exist. Shem Havayeh is how He's above nature, and He doesn't interact in that same specific little detailed way. Let's see. The Shem Elikim hu Kuntres Heichaltzu. Elikim, the name of Elikim represents God as He is in the source of creation, as the creation is divided. That's why it says Shem Elikim. Elikim is plural. It doesn't, God forbid, mean that God is plural, but it means the way he expresses himself in this world is in the plurality of the world. Like it says, God, Elikim, but God in the plural, Kadeshim, holy, Kadeshim is also his plural. Who Asher Niglu Elav Elikim, they revealed to them God in the plural. How can you say, God forbid to say, God is pluralistic? We're monotheistic. We believe in one God. So what are we saying? Elikim, plural. And you know, so the answer is like this. Elikim, what's Elikim? It's the godly life force. Shenimshach b'nivran, it's drawn down into creation. Lahaviyosam, to keep us in existence, keep us alive. So when you say what makes me alive, what level of godliness makes me alive, it's Shem Elikim. And there's a lot of levels. There's a lot of what godliness that's being given to the world, and everyone on his level and everything on its level is getting from this Shem Elikim. And that's what we're going to discuss in detail. And it's a very geschmack idea. It gives existence to many types of creations. As we see here below, there's a lot of different levels in the world. How wondrous is your works, Hashem. Meaning, there's many levels of creation. In general, there's four types, there's four elements, four types of creation. There's inanimate, animate, which is like plants. Inanimate is like rocks, plants, animal, and humans. And that's four general categories. But in them, in each one of them, there's many levels. There's a lot of types of inanimate objects. Like simple rocks. For example, in a certain sense, there's no bigger extreme between a simple rock versus a diamond. They're both rocks, they're both inanimate, they're very different. Or you have rocks that are they can help make fire. They're very different, and they're all so different from each other. So too with plants and things that grow. You have asavim, dashim, tavois, peiros, you have fruits, vegetables, you also have grass, you have flowers, and they're so different, and you can go, they're so contrast. And also in the animalistic world. In animals, you have different levels of animal. You have animals that are like in the sea, animals on the land, lions, fish, it goes forever. So too with us. Now you're going to say what I mean, but we're all humans, all very much the same. But you have also very many levels. How? It's all very different from each other. Like it says, no two people have the same opinion. We're all different. Every single person is different, has their own different separate opinions, and the way that we see our lives and we see things. And all of this, this is all as is below. So this is in the world how it is. The Shem Elikim, it's invested in all these levels, invested in the rocks, in different levels of rocks, from the stone to the diamond, to the plants, to the trees. You have trees that are 100 years old, and you have plants, that are very small, and you have fruits that grow in 21 days. All these contrasts of things, and it's all Shem Elikim within inside of all this, and also within the animals, and also within us, that keeps us in existence. Shem Elikim, the Shem Elikim is being given, is godliness expressing itself or giving life to all these different levels of creations, but not just in the physical world, so too in the higher worlds. In the higher world, it's even more divided, and this name Elikim is giving life to all these things. Like for example, Malach Milyonim. Just like angels above. There's infinite amount of angels, and each angel is getting life force from God from this level of Elikim. And in the spirituality, they're all on different levels. Because if there's no difference in levels, there wouldn't be different angels. It will be the same angel. And like we know, there's an angel for healing, there's an angel for death, there's an angel, for everything. Or the Vanivrayim Shalamata, because creations, like in this physical world, Haguf Shalahem Shenitfas. Begeder Makoim Hu Hamachlakam. What makes us different is the physical space that we take up. That divides us. That I'm here and you're there. And we're taking up that physical space. But in angels, there's no physical space. They don't literally have a physical space. So what makes them one different from the other and a different angel? There's no space. So the explanation is it's the spiritual level. What divides us? He's saying us is more physical. With the angel, it's more spiritual. Yesh Leima, we can say the Bechinas Amakim Yesh Gam Be'elam Yonim Ruchnis. And he's saying in the bracket here that even though you can say that there is also, so to speak, space, is like not physical space, but space in Shemayim. Okay, you do it like it's known the Sheirish Amakim Hu Bechinas Malchus Atzilus. The source of space is in Malchus of Atzilus, is in the lowest level in Atzilus. And therefore in the lower world, there is place. Just like in the physical world, there's space and there's limited space. Just like the physical, we live in a physical world that has physical dimensions. Also, spiritually, in these lower worlds, there's also this. Nitfas gamkein begeder gvul if you open gvul ditzira. So if they also spiritually there's a space. Gufos malachim. Therefore, the bodies of malachim of angels. Hagam shehem mehayisaydes hadakim shehem eish ruach. Even though they're on the most refined spiritual levels, and even in them, the elements that they use is like air and fire, which is much more spiritual than earth and water. Not just physical water and physical fire and air, but it's also from the level of Yitzira, which is a spiritual world. But never has a space. What he's saying is essentially that it's not a physical space like we know it, but there is some level of space in regards to angels, and they take up some type of space. It's in the spiritual, but it is. Also here we have Eish, we have fire and wind, which is space. Like air pressure. Put air in a bottle, and you put more air than the bottle can contain, and the bottle will break. So even the air, it's very, very small, but it still takes up space. Yeah, air occupies space. Also it's a fire. It's like a lightning flash. We see it. We see a fire, bonfire, whatever. You see the thing. Even the element of fire, in the sphere of fire, meaning fire as it exists in its elemental state, is still something there. Yeah, the yesh leima the goof of muchlakim. Therefore, you can say even there's a body for an angel, so to speak, that is separated. Nevertheless, even though it's true that the angels take up some type of space, but it's not comparable to our space. But the difference between the angels is not in that space that they take up, but it's in the spiritual levels. Unlike animals, let's say there's no spiritual level difference in their space. It's the physical space, or like rocks and diamonds, it's the physical space, not the spiritual standing of them. Yeah, and essentially what we're saying is that in order to understand what does it mean unity, we have to understand what does it mean unity in Hashem, what does it mean unity of Shem Havayim, and what does it mean in the world. And so first we started talking about there's a level of godliness called Shem Elikim, which is how God makes the world exist, everything on its level with all these pratim, all these details, and the many myriads of details. We saw different levels, in the 4 levels, all these details, and in us, spiritually there is. And through understanding that, we'll understand, we'll define for us what does it mean the spiritual, what does it mean Shem Havaye, how does it Havaye contrast to the Shem Elikim. To be continued tomorrow.